Hello and welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka on a Wednesday morning here at MTV Sports. And of course, if you were tuned in, we were talking to a very respected and renowned gentleman, Captain Elmo Jayawardena. He is a senior pilot, a instructor, a Gratian Prize winner, needless to say, a writer. And of course, he is also somebody who inspires a lot of people. And we were just talking to him about his work in terms of being a writer. So Captain, continuing from what we did discuss in the last segment about the kind of work you've been writing, if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that.
No, the thing is, okay, let me tell you about the writing. I first wrote The Last Kingdom of Sinhala. That, as you see, it's 850 pages. It took me 10 years to write. What happened was, we come from a country that has 2,500 years of written history. Evidential history more than 4,000 years. If I ask you, or most people, including me, our history knowledge is what you call postcard history. We know that Vijaya came. We know that Dutugamunu killed Elara. We know that Kashyapa built Sigiriya. We know the one who's holding his hands like this is Parakramabahu. Then we also know that the Dutch took a swing at us, the Portuguese took a swing at us, and the English took a swing at us. We are not sure who came first and who came last. That also we are not sure. Then we have heard of Sri Vikramarajasinghe Singh. That is the history I knew. Out of the 2,500 years, that's all I knew. So I felt I must at least learn the history of my country. So I bought all the books and I started writing Last Kingdom of Sinhala about the fall of Kandy. So 10 years is a very long time. A lot of research went into it, and when I finished it, I asked myself, now who is the publisher who's going to look at this? Here's a new author coming with 850 page book. He's definitely going to read it either. So that won't do. So I just thought I'll write a short story, a small book. So I thought I'll write Sam's story. Right. So very simple. There was the ethnic war. There was poverty. What was in Sri Lanka? So I wrote Sam's story. I think it took me 6 months to write.
Wow, and from 10 years to 6 months. That's
yeah, in 6 months, because I mean it was easy to write, and its characters were already there in Moratua, so I knew the characters, all that. Then I went to Vijitayapa and said, hey, this book, he looked at it, looked at everything, yes, right, we'll publish it. Then it won the Gratian. Then I had this other book. It was very easy to publish because I was a Gratian winner.
Yes.
So that's how I became, like my flying, it was another accident.
But you had the foresight of a business, from a business point of view, because you knew that an 850 novel from a novice writer might not even merit the first 3 pages to be read by the possible publisher.
Exactly. Yeah. So they wouldn't. Yeah, because but if you go to a guy and say, I won the Gratian, of course they know, publishers know I won the Gratian, and come up with the next book, then of course you have a better chance.
The interesting part of like what you mentioned about Sam's story is because it is a story of 2 people who, if I'm not mistaken, has a deep-rooted hatred for not personal reasons. It's more of ethnic divide, if I'm not mistaken. Sam's story. It's a Tamil and a Sinhalese. I have
You're right. It's like this. You see, we should not be talking about the war because it's gone. But since you're asking the question,
and then the book was written during.
There was a time that a Sinhalese was supposed to hate a Tamil, and a Tamil was supposed to hate a Sinhalese, and most people didn't even know why. Now that was the whole story about it, right? And that was the sadness in this country. Labelize people. You're a Tamil, I'm a Sinhalese, you're a Muslim or whatever it is. And there was a conflict issue because of the label that you carried. Even today, sad to say, is there. So my idea was to say, hey, this is all useless, I mean, we don't need all these labels in this beautiful country to live. And then, of course, the exploitation of the poor, which is still going on. So all that was there in the country, so I just wrote it. That's it.
Was this the cornerstone of what now is Candle Aid? Because it's a wonderful movement that doesn't see color, doesn't see race, doesn't see religion, but interesting, because when I was reading I felt this was one of the inspiration why your wonderful organization Candle Aid just helps the poor
Yeah, Candleaid was long before Sam's story. But Candleaid's exposure to me towards the poor was so great that I could write about poverty from first-hand experience on poverty. And that helped me when I was writing Sam's story, very much so.
I see. Coming back to Sam's story, Captain, I believe it has also been, they made a movie out of it, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, Priyankara Vitarachi made the movie. He's a lovely young director. He came and made the movie some time back. Of course, then, you know, as in all movies, it's a struggle, right? Because writing a book is so easy, but not making a movie involves a lot of money. And then Jagat Chamila acted as Sam, and he did a fantastic.
And I believe he won an award as well.
Yeah, I think, I don't know the exact name of the festival, but it is a New York Film Festival. And I know the whole story, it was all in the newspapers, and he became the best actor, and I think it is a hugely excitable achievement for all of us that he won that.
Captain, did you write the screenplay, or did you give them freedom?
No, I just gave them the freedom to write, do whatever.
Okay, in that
did they
case,
show you the final draft? I mean, or you just
No, I mean, they came and discussed many things with him, because you just can't write, take a book and make it into a film. That's not easy.
That's true.
I mean, you take English Patient, you see the movie, it's so different to the book in many ways. I mean, you take Quiet Flows the Dawn, Sherlock, right? You read the book, the movie had absolutely nothing compared to what was in the book. So most of the books are like that, you know.
But was it easy for you to let go of your baby, in a matter of speaking? Because a lot of novelists are very passionate with the book, because like what you said, when it's translated into a movie, some parts that you might feel are important are not there anymore.
No, that applies to a translation. You see, this book was translated to Sinhalese. Now I read every page because my Sinhalese is excellent, and I could understand that he got it right. But when it comes to the movie, he had to make changes, you know. They just can't produce the whole thing, right? And the characters were reduced because you can't have that many characters that you have in the book. But overall, I like the movie very much, and I certainly love the way.
Then I have to ask you this question, Captain. Do you think the movie, you know, made justice to what your little baby,
Yes.
which is a piece of work?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
That's great. Because a lot of people say that, especially when novels are turned out to be movies, they always say the book was so much better. That's like the standard answer, and I don't know if certain people have said this about your book as well.
No, the thing is, I mean, people would have different opinions by the way they look at it, right? But being the author, what I want is that the story I was trying to portray has been portrayed. Of course, it's a little different, but I have absolutely no problem to say that I love the movie. Of course, it could have been done better. Anything for that matter can be done better, right? But if you ask me, did he represent the book correctly? I think so.
Also, Captain, just before the show, when we did have a slight discussion, you were telling us about how there are so many writers out there who just have stories. When I say writers out there, writers who are not found yet. They have stories that they want to tell, but they come up with all sorts of excuses when you ask them, why aren't you writing? Some excuses are that they don't have time, etc., and so on. And you did give us a fantastic answer, and we want you to tell our viewers the same.
No, the answer is very simple, right? A lot of people would like to write a book, and maybe they have studied English in university or whatever. But the problem is that they are very worried about, and actually I think there are a couple of things that worry them. The most important one is, who's going to publish my book? Right? That is a problem, right? Then the second thing is, who's going to read my book? But what they don't understand is, you write for the love of writing. And today writing is so simple because most people have access to a computer. So you sit at it and you write it. You paste things, copy things, chop whatever, do spell check, anything you want, and you can write a story. That's not a problem. Then how good it is, you really don't know. You ask somebody and then you polish it again. Obviously you can't hit the bullseye in the first shot, isn't it? So you just get the structure down, then you sculpture it down or whatever you do, and you end up with a story. Let's say some story. So now who's going to publish it? You publish it. How do you publish it? You print it out from your computer. You have a book, then you go to one of these photocopy places, tell them I want 10 copies. The question is, do you have a book? Yes. So if you have children, I had 2 children, I would have shoved it down their throat and said, read it. Right. I mean, it doesn't really matter. People should not think who's going to publish me or who's going to read my book when you write. Now, at the moment, I have just finished a book called Kaki and the Story of a Crow. Now, if I ask myself who's going to read a book about a crow, I think somebody will read it. You know what I mean? There's no need for me to think who's going to read it. But the question is, I wanted to write about a crow. So I wrote about it, and I'm quite happy with what I got.
I see. So is the book complete now?
Yes. It's about 160 pages.
160 pages.
Yes, about a crow. What he thinks of us.
Well, you mentioned earlier that like when you're flying, you have a little bit of time to think about things, to construct something in your head. Now that you're no longer flying, but you're still very busy. You wear a lot of hats. You teach still. You have Candle Aid to also look into. You have your family. So how is the schedule now, and what does the wife feel now that she probably felt when you were retiring that it's going to be more time with the family, or was that ever a thought that came to her head?
You got to understand one thing. Whatever I say, next if she's watching on the television, I'm going to have firing squad when I go home, so I better be careful what I say. No, the truth is very simple, right? Why write most days at 4 o'clock in the morning? You got to pay a price for these things. You can't just, because at 4 o'clock in the morning your telephone is not going to ring. Till 7 you got 3 solid hours of writing if you want to write. Then I train pilots in Singapore. I do a 40-day block and I stay in hotels, and sometime my wife comes and spends time with me, and I'm teaching the same thing that I've been teaching all my life, so I don't have lessons to prepare as such. So I go and teach and come back. I'm in a hotel, I can write. It's very difficult for me to write during daytime in my home because the telephone rings or people come. But if you wake up in the morning, you can write. So it's a discipline of writing. And then of course, you run Candle Aid. That's another side of the story. Teach flying, write books. I mean, I play bridge, I go and go in my canoe all the time. You can always find the time if you really want to do something.
That's, I think, one of the important lines for this interview. You can always find time.
Yes.
If you want.
Yes.
If you want to.
Well, we were talking about Sam's story, Ryan, and of course I believe we should encourage our viewers to also grab hold of it, because it is a very nice book indeed, and we brought the cover if you want to, right over there.
Yeah. That's for the movie.
No, that's the single-use version of the book now coming out. Yeah.
There you go. So I think this is one book, pardon me, because I have got to know a lot about our guests in the past 3 days, and it is overwhelming information.
Thank you.
It's overwhelming, great information. I've been very honest that I'm not really into reading, but Captain, and all sincerity, listening to you and knowing about the book made me actually want to get a copy of Sam's story. And the funny thing, this was published in 2001? 2002. Gratian.
2000, I think. It won the Gratian in 2001. Yeah.
And people, I just checked it out, and I think the last review was like 2 months ago or something. So people are still discovering your book. How does that feel? Because normally when a book is written, no one talks about it anymore. They talk about new. When I check the web, the latest review or post opinion regarding the book was like 2 months ago.
No, it's like this. It's not that the book was published by different people. Like in Singapore, they published Marshall Cavendish published it. Then there's a Penguin version, right? Then there's a movie version. So all these things add. Now today, really people are talking about the book because of the award that Jagat Chamile won. So I am on borrowed credit on that, I think. Yes.
Well, while you guys were talking, I did have